Awesome. Okay, well, hi, hello. Hey, everyone, and welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight to meet and learn about the incredible work of Yura Sapi. I'm Lisa Gold. I'm the Executive Director of the Asian American Arts Alliance, or A4. Quick accessibility check. I am a Hapa, half Korean, half white woman with a mix of gray and dark brown hair pulled up in a top knot. I'm wearing red lipstick and a black sleeveless dress, and I'm sitting in a very blurred background. My partner here, Amy, Andrea, Amy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm going to try to come on screen, but my Wi-Fi is super sketchy, so I apologize in advance. My name is Amy Andrea, and I'm the Executive Director at MoCADA, which stands for the Museum of Contemporary African Diasporan Arts here in Brooklyn. Accessibility check, I am a Black woman with a huge fro today, wearing a multicolored shirt. And I wish I had more gray hairs. Actually, I would love a streak right about now. In front of a bright blue wall, and I am sitting on the land of the Lenape tribe.
Great, thank you, Amy. So tonight's discussion is presented in conjunction with our Bandung Residency, which is a new partnership between A4 and MoCADA to promote solidarity and understanding between Black and Asian American communities. And through this residency, we've had a series of discussions with artist activists, and sadly, this is our final Bandung Public Artist Activist conversation, but I hope we'll be able to offer more talks like this later this year, so stay tuned. So very quickly, in the before times, before the pandemic, we would ideally be meeting in the A4 offices or the MoCADA space, which are on the unceded lands of the Munsee, Lenape, and Canarsie peoples. But because we're meeting virtually, I would like to share a digital land acknowledgement, which was written by Canadian theater artist Adrian Wong, since we're all occupying different physical spaces. Since our activities are shared digitally to the internet, let's also take a moment to consider the legacy of colonization embedded within the technologies, structures, and ways of thinking we use every day. We are using equipment and high-speed internet that is not available in many indigenous communities. And even the technologies that are central to much of the art that we make leave significant carbon footprints, which contribute to changing climates that disproportionately affect indigenous people worldwide. So I invite you to join me in acknowledging all of this, as well as our shared responsibility to make good of this time, and for each of us to consider our roles in reconciliation, decolonization, and allyship. So now I am going to give a very, very, very brief introduction of our guest speaker, because their bio is so long and impressive. But Yura Sapi is an indigenous Kichwa and mestiza, Ecuadorian and Colombian non-binary interdisciplinary artist, activist, fundraiser, educator, facilitator, healer, and developing farmer who works at the intersection of the arts, social justice, and healing. Their work extends beyond our borders and prioritizes anti-racism and decolonization for our collective liberation. So now I will turn it over to Yura.
Imanaja, Mashikuna, Yupaichani, Lisa, Yupaichani, Nyukaka, Yura Sapi Mikani. Hello, friends. How are you? Thank you, Lisa. Thank you all. I am Yura Sapi. I am an indigenous person with brown skin, light brown skin, glasses, long dark hair pulled back in a light yellow shirt with an indigenous made necklace, with a universe spatial backgrounds. In my surroundings, you can also hear around me the community. I'm located on Embera native land on this Afro-Indigenous Pacific coast in the municipality of Nuki, Chocó, in so-called Colombia. We can hear indigenous community, Black and indigenous community members enjoying music, people building houses, kids are right now rehearsing for a performance in a national festival in Cali later next week. So yeah, it's just, Lisa, the indigenous communities you were naming in that land acknowledgement, I'm calling from one of them in the world. So just to confirm and name that solidarity that we're looking for, this is it. And I'm genuinely, that's my role in this world, looking to fill. I'll share more about that too in a more description about who I am. But yeah, I think just to keep going with the land acknowledgement too, wanting to name that, land back is a step that I'm personally taking in this idea of land acknowledgement. I think that for a while, at least definitely for me, this idea of acknowledging whose land we're on and the history and the current situation is just not enough in terms of what I actually envision for the future. So I just want to say that, I'm envisioning a future, perhaps 300 years in the future, this idea of 7 generations, 150 years in the future, where land is given back to indigenous hands and Black and indigenous hands globally, indigenous people all over the world. And 300 years in the future, countries, these idea of these borders, these countries, they haven't historically lasted that long. Changes happen all the time. There is a future in which the US no longer exists, which Colombia no longer exists. And I'm interested, and I'm daily always trying to make decisions that impact the future. One of those ways is planting trees, simply. I know that oftentimes, you hear the metaphor about planting a seed is not the same day you pick the fruit. And I also want to say to everyone, I also recommend planting a seed to feel what that means in connection to nature. It's incredibly healing to grow, to be one with nature, knowing that we are beings of nature. And so taking it back to that land back movement, you can learn more about these spaces. I'll share a few links in the chat to keep going. But yeah, we can keep going with the slides. Thank you, Justine. Today, I'm honored to share some tools around this understanding of the intersection of art, social justice, and healing, mainly tools that I have started to incorporate or learn more about living in the way that I do. Again, living in a Black and indigenous small community, leaving the US, farming, developing my relationship awareness as a being of nature, a respect, a co-collaboration with Earth. I left my 9-to-5 employment in a predominantly white institution, working as a quote unquote diversity and inclusion coordinator back in 2018. 2019, I decided to start traveling to the countries where I also hold citizenship, Ecuador and Colombia, in addition to the US. This was the first time I decided to go on my own to these countries, to my countries, and live, understand what it means to be a citizen as well. And that really has kept me on my journey, knowing that there is a lot to be done that I can do in my role as a US citizen, and also as having that access in Ecuador and Colombia, to be this bridge, to walk that bridge and bring attention and resources. And also at the same time, always acknowledging that these borders are temporary, have been made up, have been products of violence, of displacement. And so holding all the truths all the time, which is really too what this balance of art, healing, and social justice is all about. It's always connected, and this image of the back and forth that we have with discourse, social justice work, anti-racism in our daily lives, decolonization, the art we make to share that, and then the healing journey we're on, and all of that, healing this intergenerational trauma as beings, as people with ancestors and future ancestors, all part of it. And in that way, it's really more like the universe, the image behind the slide, in the way that we're really interacting all the time. And yeah, I'll leave that there for now. So yeah, more about me that you might need to know. I think a lot of these things are mentioned in the lovely bio that Lisa shared. I'm an artist, interdisciplinary. Currently, I offer poetry, photography, I write. I'm writing a book. I am a farmer and organizer with Protectores de la Tierra, which is a process of that's in the rescuing and continuing of native plants and products here in Nuki. And it's also part of a land justice, land liberation way, food justice aspect of the community having access to food locally grown. A lot of food is currently brought by boat or plane. There's no road to get to Nuki, which sometimes at the same time is also part of why we're able to not be targeted as much with violence at times. I'll leave that there too. There's much more in everything that I share that you can learn more and get more into. And I really hope that if this is the first time we're getting to know each other, that we'll keep going on this journey together, that we can work together on something in the future, that we stay connected. I have a podcast called Building Our Own Tables. Ballistical is an LGBTQ plus healing and art space that I've created, co-created. And yeah, I'll leave it there. Thank you. So today I'm offering a toolbox of these 3 resources that I'll go into as we keep going. These are 3 categories, areas of being able to share with you these concepts and understandings. And also please know that sharing this all in the English language, in this way, even just speaking, it's always never going to be the only way to share. There's only so much that I can say in this way. So just know that there's a lot more to keep saying and sharing, and know that, you know, this language that we're speaking, these colonizers' languages, sometimes don't have the words physically to share some of these things, but we do our best, and that's part of our journey and our fight, our struggle, la lucha. So I'd like to pause the slides here for a second and welcome us to recenter, check in, take a breathing moment. So we'll go ahead and take 3 breaths, inhaling and releasing, holding for 3, and I can guide us through. So you can go ahead and inhale, 1, 2, 3, release, 3, 2, 1, and again, inhale, 1, 2, 3. Release, 3, 2, 1. And last one, inhale, 1, 2, 3. Release, 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's get into this. Envisioning to manifest. So this is an offering that I share and have been sharing through the Strategic Planning Institute and Strategic Planning workshops with Advancing Arts Forward, which is a platform I run that creates these liberated spaces like the one we're in now. You can learn more at advancingartsforward.org. And Envision to Manifest is a practice in which we're able to open the door to seeing, to knowing, to feeling, to smelling, tasting, touching, knowing in whatever sense that really speaks, flows for you, that you can hear, that you can feel, that really vibrates with who you are. And so the idea here is imagining the impossible being, or what is told to be the impossible, perhaps, what has been registered through white supremacy, through capitalism, as saying that's not possible, that can't be done that way, it has to be done this way. It needs to be, and usually with practices that resonate white supremacy, organizational culture, racist practices, ways in which we offer hierarchies. And so really just using this practice, envisioning to manifest, imagining the impossible, quote unquote, making it possible, being able to see something real makes it that much more real. And especially if we're all as a group cultivating that vision landscaping in that way, being able to physically visualize what this might be, feel things, and create that world. There's also resources around indigenous futurism, these ways in which we're able to use practices. Globally, indigenous peoples have been envisioning the future for always. And so knowing that, you know, what could our ancestors have been processing 300 years ago for us today to live, and what does that mean for us as well in the future? I share more about each of these concepts in deeper workshops and courses. So just wanting to let that be an offering for you, know that this is a piece of what we can get into more. But with that, I'd love to welcome a little, 1-minute meditation. You're welcome to get yourself comfortable, however you are seated or laying down or standing, and being able to take this moment to intentionally envision for yourself what does the future look like for you. You can start, maybe chronologically if that works for you for right now, or if you already are working with a time space that's not linear, knowing that time is not linear. Yeah, bounce around. Welcome to allow whatever visions you see, feelings, sensations, to let you know what is that ideal future, what is the liberated future, what is our liberated future. So I'll check the time here and we'll take 1 minute there. Remember to breathe and We'll take about 30 more seconds here. Allow yourself to close your practice, knowing that you can always come back to this. And coming back to our space. Great, I hope that was useful for you. And I'd love to keep going with another offering, a practice, again, from the Strategic Planning Institute, where we are cultivating visionaries who are creating transformative projects for themselves and their communities globally. So this is an offering for you as you have been able to articulate a vision for yourself, for your community, for what you are looking to create that vision for, and an offering to how to get that to a reality, this idea of manifesting, this idea of naming what it is you're looking for so that you are aware when you see it. So yeah, we can go ahead and take an example here. So go ahead and think about a goal that you are looking to accomplish, whether that might be a project or a specific skill you're looking to develop, whatever is coming to mind for you as a goal that you're looking to accomplish. And you can go ahead and write that down or just name it if you're not able to write. I do believe the skill of being able to learn and remember without writing and not having access to sometimes these kinds of things, and knowing and oral ways of transcribing information is extremely useful, and personally something I'm looking to always develop, and know that, you know, if I'm in a moment where it's not meant to be written down, it's not meant to be written down, and it's meant for me to be remembering it. And that is part of how so much of our cultures have continued and will continue. So that's just an offering for that. Continuing on, writing or knowing, naming that goal, and then considering what is the first next step that you can take to accomplish. What is like the next thing that you need to do to make this a reality? And just naming that. If a few things come to mind, you're welcome to write them down, name them out. Again, allowing your intuition, your knowing to answer these questions. And next, thinking about perhaps these next steps, or perhaps the goal at large. What do you need? What do I need? What resources do I need? What spaces do I need? What collaborations do I need? And here, something that has been crucial for me is not centering money as something, as the resource that is really needed, because oftentimes it's not actually even a money or an amount that is needed. It's the thing that we're looking to buy or with that. And so being more direct and clear about what is it that I need has helped me be able to find it and have it come. When will I complete this? So writing out a life date, as I've changed as well, this idea of deadline, a day, a life date, a day in which we're giving this goal life, this vision life. So go ahead and write or name that for yourself too, knowing that we're giving ourselves grace, we're sensing and responding to changes, and it's not always necessary. It's not necessary to, quote, stick to the plan. And actually so much of how we live, survive, thrive is being able to adapt to change and make decisions as needed. And then the final offering here, the space, a question to ask yourself for this goal: who is community? Who am I accountable to with this? Who are my accountability partners? Who will help me make this a reality? Who am I doing this with, for? What is that aspect of it? Which also is, at times, maybe this is the most important thing too to think about, is why we're doing this, who we're doing this for, with, and that leads us into other offerings around knowing your purpose and your values guiding you along, which we go into in the Strategic Planning Institute. Awesome. Okay, let's keep going in our offerings. So we're getting into next an understanding that I have been cultivating and learning and sharing. And I've mentioned a few times this idea of nature as teacher. There's a book called Braiding Sweetgrass, which the author speaks about having plants and animals, knowing that there are many of these beings who are actually elder ancestors in terms of generationally, that have been around for much longer than we have. And also literally some trees have been around longer than we have, much longer. And so what does that mean in terms of the knowledge they have around how to live on this earth, with this earth, in collaboration, in co-creation? And so this is where leading as a being of nature, this idea of nature leadership, it comes from. I'm sharing these photos here of Nuki. These are all photos of where I live, and just the offerings as to the different aspects of Earth, and being able to be one and to learn, literally, like, live in the jungle. Sometimes I wake up in the jungle, walking around, knowing, getting answers and messages, and also respecting just all the beings, all the insects, the plants, the animals around. Really sensing, understanding this hierarchy that humans are at the top, and really decolonizing that just by being in nature, being in spaces where Earth is thriving. So nature leadership, leading as a being of nature. We can go to the next slide. So before I get into this too, I would like to talk a little bit about the word nature. Sometimes I often see the definition of nature as described as the world of plants and animals and landscapes, as opposed to humans, or creations of humans. And I think that's where I just want to name that I don't mean that. I mean humans as nature. And that's also in part what this idea of nature leadership is calling us, is saying, what does it mean for us as leaders to make decisions as beings of nature, instead of as opposed to nature, instead of saying we're different from nature. And so in that way, biomimicry, this first offering, this idea that we can learn from the systems and structures of other plants and animals, of the forest, of the ocean, of the way the earth has been living forever, knowing that we can be replicating and adjusting some of these offerings to serve us. The way in which a forest is able to live independently, each plant is, an animal is living an independent life, and also connecting with each other. The trees are sending signals to each other to warn about different diseases that may come, pests that might come, knowing that it's part of the way in which they're all able to live and survive and thrive. There's different offerings here too around the fractal nature in the way we see the small become large. The example here is looking at a cell, the atoms and protons and neutrons, the way things revolve around, and then comparing to the way our solar system revolves around and the sun, and knowing that these patterns, these fractals, are connected, that the small becomes a large, and that we're all part of that. So kind of knowing that we're part of something bigger, and that things are connected and complex. I'll get into that more too, with this understanding of whole being as a leadership, as a way to lead as a being of nature, knowing that our body, mind, and spirit are connected, and we can look towards all of that to find answers, that sometimes the answers aren't coming from just the mind, they're coming from the gut, from intuition, and that is a valuable resource. And also maybe, you know, some answers are coming from an ancestor that is telling you or responding to you. And, you know, it's this idea of knowing and connecting in a holistic way to have access to answers. And this is a very culturally connected practice for many people of color globally, really people all over, knowing that, you know, at one point our ancestors were all indigenous to somewhere. Evolutionary is another offering, this idea of revolutionary leadership practices. There's a book called Reinventing Organizations, which I also share a resource at the end of more resources around this type of offering with this Reinventing Organizations community. And this book offers this understanding that we're at a point where there's another level, another stage of how organizations can be run, and that there is this idea of evolving. And so I wanted to share some specific practices from that and welcome you to keep learning there. There's this understanding of sensing and responding that has been super important for me, changing really the way that I thought things needed to be, especially in this oftentimes non-for-profit arts world, or even for-profit, just anything that is registered with the government, knowing that there are specific ways of working, like having budgets that you look to basically plan everything of how things might happen. And then the work of sticking to it, and that process of saying, well, you know, things are changing, the plan is actually not working. And why do we need to keep going in that direction if we're potentially causing harm, if it's not actually aligned with our vision, our mission? Maybe actually the better decision is to shift, to adjust, to adapt. And being able to sense and respond is a skill that has allowed me to thrive in many ways, in many moments. And this book, Reinventing Organizations, offers some more clarity, understanding, examples as to how that can show up too for you. Connected to that is this releasing of ego in many spaces, this understanding that ego, capitalism is feeding off of ego and decisions that are made from individualistic perspectives, knowing that our community goals is really where we're looking to be. And so making decisions sometimes out of ego it really clouds that. So that's something for me that has really been important, to allow that release of ego when that might come up. And then, yeah, radically emergent, again, in connection to sensing and responding. Emergent Strategy, book by Adrienne Marie Brown, is an offering to keep going into this space. So we can go to the next slide, and I'd love to just share a poem from my book, Poems of a Quest for Liberation from the Cages of Colonization. And the slide you're seeing now is coconut seedlings that we plant with Protectores de la Tierra. These seedlings take about 7 years to start giving fruit. And so, again, I welcome you to plant a tree. Plant your trees in your actions. What actions are you taking? What decisions are you making that are supporting yourself, your community, 7 years in the future? And then also, I do recommend literally planting a tree and following that journey for that tree, knowing that that tree is connected to you. And planting overall, I want everybody to be able to plant things. Know that, you know, it's impossible. This idea that you maybe don't have a green thumb, who benefits off of us as globally indigenous people of color, off of us thinking that we can't grow plants, that we can't grow our own food, that we must buy from X place, X corporation. So yes, this poem is called Doing the Work. Learn to live and love the frustration. Make decisions and try new things, valuing ourselves for all that we're worth. Read the room, give strategically, receive wholeheartedly, paired with spaces to be free. And I'll just share that link in the chat as well for that poem. Yes, let's keep going. Let's keep going with tools for resilience. So these are some offerings which are all always connected truly with everything. You'll notice repetitions, you'll notice things aligning, which again, it reminds me of the universe image, the understanding that things are complex and sometimes unpredictable and are connected in ways that we can't always physically so clearly pinpoint and say. This idea of binary is a product of white supremacy as well. This understanding that it has to be one or the other or must fit into a specific category. So just naming that all as we go in to these next 3 offerings. You can go to the next slide for awareness, abundance, and love. So let me share more about what I mean with all of these as tools for resilience, as tools for us as we continue and keep going, wherever that might be for you or mean for you. Awareness as self-care and community care, as knowing and understanding how they are the same, how caring for myself is also caring for my community, how caring for my community, how there are things we do that are all connected, that receiving care from others, that caring for others is important, that we care for ourselves so we can better care for others, that we love ourselves, that we're being ourselves and not someone else. And so having that awareness, as well as awareness in other ways, acknowledging, for example, energy exchanges, the energy that we put out will be also reflective of what we're receiving, that we're receiving energy. I'm sending you energy. You are all sending me energy, which also leads to the idea of time not being linear. Maybe you're watching this as a recording and you're being able to send energy, knowing that in this moment, I'm also sending you that energy. And divine timing. Time is not linear, that we are where we need to be, that there are sometimes moments when things align, and there are times of planting and times of harvesting. And sometimes there have been many things where I'm wishing that it would be the right time now, or why haven't I done this? Why haven't I, written that book yet? Knowing that it's all in the right time, everything is coming for the right moment. There have been different projects that I have been wanting to work on, and until the right person came into my life, or we were waiting for someone to be ready as well to work together, it's all connected. And so trusting that and being aware, again, this awareness and this ability to sense and respond when these messages are offered to us. Abundance, and to receive, being open to receive when divine timing comes up and says, this is the opportunity, will you take it? And breaking from this binary, I recently wrote an article about antidotes to scarcity mindset in the community-centric fundraising hub, and spoke about this binary that abundance is this idea of having, and scarcity is not having and desiring, and that this binary is good and bad. And again, like I was saying, the binaries are constructs, white supremacy culture constructs, products of capitalism and non-liberatory practices that are looking to force us to fit into a specific box or category. And so knowing that abundance and scarcity is not always negative, positive, that there are cycles that we respect, that we honor, that we're able to value and save when there is an abundance harvest, and where there is an abundance of something, so that we're and be also on the other side when we don't have something, or something is not having in its time, that it's not a negative, that it's actually good, and actually maybe there's other things that are abundant now. So you can read that article for more information as well. And then love, choosing joy, being able to respond with joy. These energy exchanges, sometimes folks will send us people, others will send us energy that is not what we're looking to keep cultivating. And if we send that energy right back, then we are continuing that cycle. And so choosing joy, love as a tool for resilience as we keep going on, knowing that there are different ways we respond, and that we're able to lead with love and choose joy. Yeah, so now we have shared these 3 offerings, many more sub offerings around tools that have been important for me on my journey, specifically in the past few years, that in this moment have been, that I have been called upon to share with you these offerings in this specific group, in this community. And yeah, I'm really grateful for the space for you. And I am here for your liberation and for our liberation. And I have a few more resources. There's so many out there, but here are a few that I, in this moment, would like to share with you. So the Building Our Own Tables book, connected to the podcast, as I've said, is interviewing different leaders, Black, Indigenous, Asian, Arab, leaders of color, who are creating, cultivating these transformative strategies in their leadership, and that they're creating new spaces as a way to get away, to evolve, revolutionize, and get away from these predominantly white institutions, building our own tables, knowing that sometimes we're not building tables, we're building floors, we're building all kinds of spaces in which we can connect, decolonizing the table. And the Building Our Own Tables book right now is a space where you can connect more on different areas using the tool that will be linked there as we share the slide presentation. So you can learn more there. Community-centric fundraising hub, I mentioned a space where I recently published an article. They also have great resources, articles, community. You're welcome to add your writing, your offering, your podcast to their space as well. The Strategic Planning Institute, there's a free worksheet online, which you can go ahead and download and participate in. And you're also welcome to join us in the next Strategic Planning Institute next year, or share with others who might be interested in receiving this curated coaching support. They're creating a space, a new project. Additionally, the courses and coach offering through Advancing Arts Forward is available. We go into different topics, which we can go to the next slide quickly to see. These are some of the workshops that we are organizing. They're going to be asynchronous spaces where you can, in your own time, go through these practices and exercises. So we have self-care for the revolution, for the evolution, vision to manifest your dreams, creating your mission, vision, and values, abundance over scarcity mindset, keys to transformative justice and community accountability, revolutionary organizational structures. And you're welcome to click on the link and sign up to get updates as we're developing these courses. It helps us know that it's an interest for them so that we can prioritize that. We can go back to the more resources slide. There is a space, BIPOC Surviving Predominantly White Institutions, led by Art Equity. And in general, Art Equity is an amazing space that I'd love to share with anyone. who is interested in getting support from a community in the arts world, in doing anti-racism, decolonizing work, joining them in their spaces that they're so graciously curating. They have trained me as a facilitator, and I'm eternally grateful, always coming back and learning more as well. So this space actually that they're hosting right now this summer is free. And so you're welcome to join, I believe, for their last session, and also just get on their mailing list, receive the offerings they're sharing. Art equity training programs. Restorative practices in organization leadership. This is what I had mentioned around the book Reinventing Organizations. This is actually a presentation link that Kazuhaga did with Sonia of the Ahimsa Collective around restorative practices in organizational leadership. Kazu shares a presentation around restoring, reinventing organizations, which I think is excellent as a way to really see the book from more of a people of color perspective, people of color organizational perspective. And yeah, you can also then dive more into that whole space and resources for this kind of evolutionary, revolutionary practices around leadership. And last but not least, the Nuki Artist Residency here in Nuki, where I am with Advancing Arts Forward and Casa Joe Surf, a locally owned, Black-owned homestay here that we are collaborating with, along with many other community tourism groups and businesses as well, to cultivate these spaces where artists are able to co-collaborate here, learn skills here from local experts, maestros and sabedoras, like wise elders. So yeah, welcome to check that out and help spread the word. You're always welcome to visit me and connect with me more as well. We can go to the last slide there. And you can see, you can connect with me, find my info on my website or on Advancing Arts Forward. And yeah, you're welcome to keep connecting. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Yura. This is so great. We really appreciate your time today. I just want to let everybody know who is watching the live stream that we will be following up with you with an email tomorrow that has all of the links to the organizations and the resources that Yura shared with us tonight. So thank you all, and we appreciate you joining us.